Hola, bienvenidos, and welcome to week 7 of summer school for the hero's journey. This is the 7th Jade tablet, so named Angels and Demons, and I'm going to take you through this beautiful system that has appeared as a result of the other Jade tablets that have come before, but it was also started first as well. I was feeling these energies coming through really early on, and yet I couldn't piece where they all went together, and so I allowed it to evolve naturally and come through. A lot of these were not necessarily filled in, and they certainly were only in pencil. They weren't coloured until I felt really sure of their position and their place and their energy. As you can see, so this tablet was actually started first. It was one of the first downloads, I suppose you could say, I was receiving, but there's a lot of information here, so it was coming through in a diatribe. It was coming through in different dialects from different tribes, different families, different star systems, and through different experiences as well. Like, I've learned a lot of this by walking the path of these energies and feeling into them that way. And as you can see, it finished in 7th place in terms of the Jade tablet development, and it remains freestyle because the two last columns, the Archangel and the Demon layer, are still freestyle, because there's two reasons for that. Because I believe that all of these angels and demons can... Oh, I think it's raining. I wonder how that's going to do on our sound. Let's just see how we get on, okay? All of these energies can be here to help us with all of these levels. So it's not to say that one is... you can only use one particular angel energy or battle a demon energy based on just the layer or the level or the line that they appear in. But it is to say that they possess particular qualities and spiritualities that allow us to connect in more more... Oh, that might be too loud, you know. Okay, so the rain and thunder god has decided to give us some peace, so we're going to continue. Let's just get straight in, okay, and get stuck in. So this is the 7th Jade tablet, week 7 of summer school for the Hero's Journey Masterclass. Thank you so much for joining us on the journey. This is Angels and Demons. We are now looking at a piece that was started first, finished in 7th place with the tablet development, but remains freestyle because a lot of these ideas are not concrete, they're not set in stone. They are, I believe, fluid and free for us to involve ourselves with and enjoy and embrace. But at the same time, I want to underline certain spiritual factors that each of these angels represent with the system that we've been working to. So we're sort of returning to the beginning, because this is where the whole idea stems from, this attributement or the attributes of the chakras and how they relate to the planets. So the planets in our solar system, they reign supreme, so they are here in the order that they appear in the solar system. So we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. We'll just run through each line first of all, so that you can understand the logic that I've been using and the rabbit hole I've been navigating with this one. So looking along the top of our table, we have planets, chakras, the power that combination draws down, the sephira, which is the numbered globe or sphere on the tree of life, which we looked at last week and the week before. So these are the sephira, and these are the sins and the virtues, again as attributes or factors or characteristics of how we use these powers. And when they're in balance, they can be a virtue. When they're out of balance, obviously they are a sin. One of the 7 deadly sins. Well, we've actually got 9 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 here. And, you know, everybody's heard about the 7 deadly sins. I think we've heard about these way more than we've heard about the virtues. In fact, you might not even be aware that the sins and the virtues are opposite sides of the same coin. And that's where the archangels and the demons come into it. So there is an ambition or an aspiration, if you like, that each of these archangels can help us submit to and become enlightened by the virtuous side of ourselves. And the demons, they represent, or could represent in your life, in your experience, how the sins have also manifested or materialized, or that kind of energy field that pulls people down into the sin type energy. And this isn't about saying some people are sinners, some people are virtuous. No, I firmly believe and feel I've channeled that all of us contain all of this inside each person. And we are all able to fall foul of the sins or the low vibrational energy forms. And we're also all capable of turning that around and bringing it into a virtuous state. And I believe that's where the angels can help us, and even the demons can help us too, because if you can face your demon and you know what you're looking at, and there's a big chicken walking towards me, I'm sure it's a virtuous angelic chicken, not a demon chicken. Well, let's hope not anyway. By being able to look the devil in the face, or look that demon in the face and recognize it, name it, call it out, and virtually or literally or metaphorically challenge the behavior or the energy that the demon is trying to bring through into your life, you can thereby turn it on its head and come through into a more virtuous place. I'm not saying we all ascend as virtuous angels just because we've managed to turn down a temptation or a vice or an energy, a karmic that is pulling us into our lower vibrational self. But it's getting us on the road. These are stepping stones on the journey. And it's a journey of yellow brick roads. We have to navigate all of these paths. And I believe that God and Spirit really wants us to experience all of this. Nobody can walk the virtuous path their whole life without ever having known falling off or falling over or falling off the wagon. It's a constant wave. Let me just check camera's doing well. Yeah. So you might have noticed we didn't go live today for a variety of reasons. We don't need to go into them, but I thought I'd just throw the hounds off the scent today. And yeah, we found ourselves a new little piece of paradise, and we're going to keep that secret. Okay? Only those with the key can unlock that door. So let's get into describing what each one says, in case you can't read them from where you are, or where I am in proximity to the camera. So we're going to look at the line by line, starting with the sun. The sun represents the third eye. The power is intuition. The sephira is tiferet, or compassion. And the sin would be greed. Virtue would be charity. The archangel I have as Metatron, and the demon I have as Lucifer and Samael. Like I say, the names, the labels here in pink are a guide. They are here to open the doorway to information and knowledge and wisdom about these particular angels and demons that you might not have known or might not have been aware could be a door to more knowledge. So it's not meant to suggest that Metatron is the only angel that is concerned with these factors, but he is a particular guide that can open the doorway and provide that first step on your journey to more knowledge. This is always a journey about more knowledge, finding the next clue in the puzzle, uncovering the next piece of the kaleidoscope tapestry that is your life, that is the cosmos, that is spirit incarnate. And I believe there is a powerful synchronicity and association between these layers of wisdom. Each one of these boxes could demonstrate something in itself, but I believe when it is pulled together like a beautiful bracelet of beads and crystals, all working in synchronicity and harmony, there is more power that emanates. So, on to Mercury. Mercury, chakra is the crown, power is knowing, hod or empathy is the sephira, the sin is pride, virtue, humility, the archangel is Uriel, and possibly Ramael. I haven't written it on there, but we're going to say Ramael for the demon, simply because of something I was reading just this morning when I was doing a little check on one of the other demons, which we'll get to, and I'll explain that one. So we're going to say Ramael can fit in that space there, because there's a lot to do with the pride of the fallen angels and how all of that came about. So that's, you know, downloads coming to me even in the minute. And this particular piece was started 3 years ago now, in 2019 even. You know, we're going back into 2019, so now we're spanning 4 years. Venus rules the heart chakra. The power is love. Netzach is the sephira and represents eternity. The sin would be envy. The virtue is equality. And I have 3 archangel potentials for this spot: Hanael, Kamael, and Marmaroth, or Marmarath. And Battle and Clothard are the demons for Venus. Onto our beautiful moon. rules the sacral chakra. The power is feeling, sensation in the body. The Sephirah is Yesod, represents the astral realm, the place that we go when we go to sleep and when we meditate. It is the fourth dimension, the astral realm. The sin would be lust, the virtue chastity. And the archangels, I have Mariel and Santa Muerte as a powerful archangel, two powerful feminine archangels. We don't see them very much, as in we don't recognize or realize that there are feminine archangels, but of course they were, of course there were, and of course there still are. And I'm going to introduce you to another female. Maybe you can guess before we get to it, but you definitely won't recognize this one as a feminine, but some texts would say otherwise. So Santa Muerte definitely rules and governs over Dia de los Muertos out here in Mexico, which falls just after Halloween for the rest of the world, and a very beautiful feminine power that I've connected into many times, as is Mary L, or Archangel Mary Magdalene. All very feminine, coming through that moon energy, the sacral, the feeling, the emotional realm. And the sacral is also that place that connects us to our sexuality, our identity, our relationships. And so feels very poignant that it would be lust and chastity. Who do we allow to trespass along those lower realms? On to Mars, governs the root chakra. The power is a firm foundation. The Sephirah is Gevurah, boundaries. The sin is wrath. The virtue, patience. Now this is an interesting one. I have actually put Amun-Ra as the archangel, even though Ra is the sun and the Almighty. I still believe that Ra emanates as an energy in everybody. The light that is inside you, that essence, that seed of divine light that lives inside you is from the sun. It is from Ra. So why not Amun-Ra hold space in a vessel too? So it's there because it resonates for me. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right, but it does also mean that I had to put Michael in the demon side. Michael and Amenadiel. So you could imagine that Michael sits in the space of archangel, obviously God's greatest warrior prince is Archangel Michael. Thank you so much, Archangel Michael. You have given us so much, so many pieces of the puzzle. But you had many brothers and sisters, and there are many stories about the war that happened where Michael had to defend his own father, his own kingdom, from his brothers and sisters who would wage war on God and eventually found themselves ejected from heaven and became fallen angels and cast down to the earth forever for us to have to play with, for us mortals or immortals to have to play with till however long we got, right? So Amenadiel is actually a name that many people won't recognize because Amenadiel is not in the Bible. Amenadiel was considered God's eldest or first angel. Before Michael, before any of the others that you might know so well by name, Amenadiel was actually the first or eldest of the angels. And he stood by the divine. He stood by in support of his father when Lucifer decided to take revenge on God. And, well, you know the story, right? We can go into that story in another time. But the point I'm trying to make is that Amenadiel supported his father and his brothers and sisters against Lucifer. It was only later that Amenadiel, through confusion, maybe even some kind of divine awakening, perhaps it was the passing through of the fallen angels first, and what that created, the split that it created between heaven and hell, heaven and earth, whatever you want to say. And in the end, Amenadiel also took revenge on God and became a fallen angel. And just to prove that I haven't made this up, Amenadiel appears in two very ancient sacred texts, just not in the Bible as we know it. But obviously, if you do know a little bit about the Bible, you should also be aware that many aspects and chapters and books of the Bible were hidden and deleted in it as it was being developed into the final work, if you like, because they didn't want certain information to come through. And it may well be that that's why we don't know about Amenadiel. Perhaps he was removed on purpose, but I'm going to show you or read you a little something, which is this. So, Amenadiel features in two different sacred texts. The first is the Theurgia Goetica. The Theurgia Goetia is a book on magic, and it is an anonymous text written in the 17th century, yet it is one of the most important texts, and it deals with the demons in Christianity. In this text, Amenadiel is known as the King of the East, commander of more than 1,000 dukes and numerous lower spirits. Here, the fallen angel is described as a demon of the day and the night, with a prominent black aura. Amenadiel also features in the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Judaic text that reveals much information about the divine realm and the angelic hierarchy. It contains information about the fallen angel, who is described as a rebel who wants to create a new kingdom without his father God. According to this ancient text, Amenadiel was defeated by the Archangel Michael and sent to hell with the other angels who participated in the revolt. The angels Sariel and Remiel are also considered the most powerful of the fallen angels. So there was actually two at least revolts against God, in which Michael had to battle long and hard against his own brothers and sisters that were determined to create a world that didn't revolve around divine guidance and divinity. I'm not really sure that they achieved that, but they've been trying to pull that veil down over us. Some might even say that is the Matrix in itself. But I'll tell you this world is not without God. That part of the plan was never achieved. They never managed to create a world or exist in a world where God did not exist, because he is omnipotent, omnipresent, and he is within each one of us, including every one of the angels and the fallen angels or the demons. So, as a quick extra piece of info, the three main angels for God So his three sons were Michael, Amenadiel, and Lucifer. They were each tasked with governing a third of the archangel population, which was numbered at 72. 72 angels, and these three angels were tasked with governing over a third of that population. So when we say that Lucifer took his angels into a revolution, or Amenadiel took his angels into a revolution and they became fallen, we're talking about them taking their own third of the entire hierarchy of angels. So there was, you know, no greater way, there's no greater analogy to say that every single archangel was faced with a dilemma whether to go to the dark side or stay on the light side. And the fact that two of the three brothers became fallen suggests that 2/3 of all the angels turned to the dark side. Now that's a, you know, a real thinker in itself. So there's just a little bit of extra info, and that might also explain why we do find staying in the light, staying on a virtuous path so difficult, because there is so much more energy from the dark side, the demonic side, wanting to bring us down into our lower self and make us fall prey to the sins and the temptations of this earthly realm. Let's get on to Jupiter, shall we? Jupiter is an awesome power that comes after some difficult energies. It's in bright yellow, but if you can't see it, I will read it for you. Jupiter is the planet. It governs the solar plexus. The power is will, or willpower. The Sephira is Hesed, the unconditional. The sin would be sloth, and the virtue, diligence. The archangel is Zadkiel, and the demon is Astaroth. Saturn, baby. Saturn is the planet. The throat chakra is governed by Saturn. The power is vibration. The Sephira is Bina and understanding. The sin is gluttony. We all know that Saturn ate his children. And the virtue would be temperance. Knowing when you're full. Not eating until you're absolutely stuffed, but being able to still enjoy the beautiful feast that you have enjoyed, that you have just feasted on. And actually the word feast is coming through me because another special message came to me this morning, which I didn't even know it was now. It is actually the Feast of the Archangels this week. Specifically, it is September the 29th, which is 2 days from now. And I saw a beautiful reader, Deborah Clare, Channeled Guidance, do a reading for the Feast of the Angels, the Archangels, this morning, in preparation for this special event. And it felt divinely met that I was doing angels and demons today. And this is a really strange thing to say when we're talking about angels, especially when most people who look in on this might think that this is all fiction. You can Google all of this. Everything I'm saying about angels and demons, there is actually a lot of very ancient text and scripture that talks in depth, including the Bible. And many of these names are actually in the Bible, but just not so much about Amenadiel, if nothing about Amenadiel, and very little about Lucifer and Satan, who are two different creatures, two different individual energies. They're not the same. That's another lie to try and make all devil energies the same. These were angels. These once upon a time were divine angels of the highest rank. And through their actions, they were cast down. But that doesn't mean that that divine light of God doesn't still exist in them. So, yeah, I would suggest that there was a lot of censoring that was going on when the Bible was being developed, and lots of very important people were excluded, including the truth about Archangel Mary Magdalene, who is perhaps one of the most important lead characters, if I dare to say so, above and beyond her husband Jesus, for what she had to endure after what he endured, and was never given the recognition, in fact was torn down, torn apart in our consciousness, so that we might hopefully forget who she was and never bring her energy back. Well, sorry guys, that ain't happening. We'll never forget Archangel Mariel, and she is with us and within us, and she's coming back, baby. The lost world of the sacred feminine has been found. Okay, we were talking about Saturn, gluttony and temperance. Archangel Cassiel or Caphciel, I have found two different spellings, both of which would actually be the same angel. F and S look the same in ancient scripture. So the idea that Cassiel spelled that way and Caphciel spelled that way could actually be the same angel. No problem about it at all. And then the demon is Satan and Baal. And you will notice the similarity between the words Satan and Saturn, one of the first angels. And we are still a-rolling. Okay, Uranus. As you've heard me say before, it's my belief and my studies and research that bring me to the idea that Uranus governs the electromagnetic field around our bodies and indeed around the Earth, and potentially has a part to play in the electromagnetic field in the solar system itself. His position, his energy, his spiritual factors very much lend themselves to that idea. The force is the power. And when I say force, yes, I am talking about the force from Star Wars, the force that divinely connects each one of us to another, that connects us to the trees, the animals, the stars, and of course the divine. The Sephirah is not a numbered Sephirah on the Tree of Life. It is more a energy sphere in the heart of the Tree of Life called Dart or Dai-Art. Knowledge is the power of Dart. And here I've actually intuitively interpreted what the sin and the virtue is, because actually many people know only of the 7 deadly sins. They probably couldn't have named the 7 virtues, but as we have more planets in our solar system than 7, more, and including the sun and the moon, who are obviously powerful luminaries in our existence for our lives, we actually have 10 different deities, 10 gods, 10 planets. And so I've intuitively gone along with my research and found the sin would be ignorance, and the virtue, forgiveness. And there is a forgiveness angel called Balthiel, and they are known as the watching angel and also bring an energy of forgiveness. And I feel that ignorance and forgiveness hold a symbiotic nature. And some people might think, well, you know, ignorance, if you don't know something, you don't know, and it can't be a sin. But I believe that ignorance also takes the form of people knowing the truth and doing the opposite anyway, or blindly stumbling forward even though they know they're going in the wrong direction. And that is a sin against their own true nature. And so we have to bring forgiveness to that ignorance. Perhaps forgiveness if we truly didn't know we were hurting someone we shouldn't, or truly didn't know that we were hurting someone. And it's about bringing that forgiveness first to yourself through that watching, that observation, that inner eye. The force. Feeling that force that connects every single thing. If we are all connected, then any atrocity that you execute on someone else is effectively an atrocity on your own self. I've often said this in my tarot readings, that when we think about karma and we think about the law of attraction, you should think about your life going along with a mirror in front of you. And what you see in the mirror is yourself. And everything you put out, be that thought, emotion, intention, action, words, anything, bounces right off that mirror and back onto you. It's not just a pretty picture or a reflection. It is a physical bounce back, like a boomerang, right back onto you. And so if you're putting out a lot of bad, negative, low down energy on other people, you're not actually harming them in the way you think you are. But what you are doing is you're harming yourself tenfold, because you're asking for all that negative, destructive energy to surround you. And I know that there's many people out there that have crossed me that may well be feeling that right now, may well be finally learning the powerful truth that everything you send out is coming straight back on you. And if you're one of these beautiful starseed, earth angels, light workers that put out good energy insofar as possible you can, with all your best intentions every single day, then baby, you know you've got all that coming back to you in spades. In spades and clubs and hearts and diamonds. It's all coming back on you. And if you haven't seen it yet, then baby, buckle up, because it's coming. Good and bad karma is coming. It is here. This is 2022. It is the time, the year of balance, because it adds up to the number 6. 6 is all about divine balance. It is the number and space on the tree of life of both Lucifer and Jesus. Also, brothers, and Jesus is not actually here on our list. And I did have a little think about that today, whether I wanted to sneak him in or sneak JC through the back. But it's cool. He's here in everything that I'm doing. But his wife's here. Maybe, you know, I'm seeing Jophiel, like the J of Jophiel. I don't know why. Maybe that's a connection. You know, we'll come to this in a second. Well, let's do it now. Let's go there. Let's go there. Neptune. These two, again, I've had to do a little intuitive rounding up, if you like, with Neptune and Pluto, who, along with Uranus, have often gotten excluded from the divine record simply because those little humans on earth couldn't see them and couldn't believe the messages that they were being given by the divine of their existence. So Neptune rules the soul star on the tree of life in terms of the chakra, and ascent is the energy. The act of ascending or ascension definitely resonates with Jesus Christ. He was helping teach people how to ascend, and for that they crucified him. Another light worker assassinated in the prime of his life at 33 years old. I mean, he had reached, you know, the third level, and he was a carpenter. I'm just gonna say. The Sephirah on the tree of life is Chokmah. Chokmah. We don't pronounce the CH. It is Chokmah, and stands for wisdom. Only through wisdom can you go through ascension. The sin and the virtue, my development here, error and truth. Error and truth. And Uriel is also one, Uriel or Ariel, two different ways of saying the same angel, or you may believe that they are two completely separate angels. You'll have to tell me. Answers on a postcard, please. Error and truth, Jophiel. I haven't put a demon there. We did learn about Sariel also, potentially. I'm not going to rush to put something in the box. I'm not going to rush to pigeonhole anybody. But this again it's about your intuitive interpretation as well. But we do have the 7th next to it, because it's the 7th Jade tablet. 7 is the number of the divine. It is the number associated with the planets, the chakras, and the sins. There was a little bit of ignorance that was going on, a little bit of error in the knowledge that actually it wasn't 7, it was the full 10. But 7 remains powerful because it is what was known, and so that was the energy that was transmuted, and we don't know what we don't know. We can only learn from those lessons and take that forward, and that's our gift. When we receive knowledge, the gift is to ensure that we pass it forward like a fiery torch. So as we learn more, we can fill in the table even more. And that's kind of, I believe, the work that I'm trying to achieve here. I really didn't know what this was when I began. I had the bare bones of the planets and the chakras, which even back then, 4 years ago, I was still tussling with how this worked as a vibrational match. This bit has taken a lot more soul searching and a lot more research, and is still an unfinished symphony. And but the fact that it became number 7 does hold divine light for me. So last but not least, beautiful Pluto reigning over the Earth star, often seen as a devil himself, often compared with Hades, who would guard over the gates of hell. In the underworld, down below, Pluto sits at the end of the solar system. If we were to turn the solar system up on its head, Pluto would be at the bottom, the sun would be at the top, just like this. So the analogous nature of Pluto and Hades being represented by the devil, by hell, by the underworld, has a lot of basis in its scientific position in the solar system and the energy that it brings around. And there are so many beautiful stories of Pluto or Hades stealing Persephone down into the underworld and so creating the seasons, the 4 seasons. But that's definitely a story for another day. So for Pluto, he controls the Earth star chakra. And from my perspective, we have ascent, so we have descent. We can go down through the tree of life, through the chakras in a holy divine way. Descent does not necessarily mean a bad thing. Excuse me. Because Pluto rules Keter, the bridge to spirit. Bridges have 2 ends. They cross from one side to the other. The sin is temptation. Temptation itself. And the virtue would be abstinence. You know, all of these are temptations. But actually the temptation energy itself still needs to be named, labelled, acknowledged and challenged. Some people go through life saying things like, oh, I've just got an addictive personality. What does that mean? Like, that doesn't mean anything. That's the kind of rubbish that gets out on social media, or in fact the media, because it was the media before social media. You know, Facebook only started in 2004, and yet now people spend more time attached to their Facebook phone, like Facebook world, or metaverse world, if you like, than they ever spent with their head in a book, be that a spiritual book or any kind of literature, where using the power of reading unlocks your own imagination, your own inner visualization and imagery, and allows you to take a journey in your own mind, in your own emotions and your own soul, that watching a screen doesn't give you in the same way. I'm not saying that all visual media isn't powerful or doesn't have the power. You know, there are lots of great films adapted from books, okay? Thousands upon thousands. But in almost every single regard, every single film that was taken from a book, the book was better. There are a couple of exceptions, but I'm just doing my checks because I am your MC, your green goddess. I'm also the camera woman and the producer and the writer and an archangel myself. I'm definitely following the footsteps of my Archangel Mariel and Santa Muerte. I feel very blessed to be in a position to know the names of my ancestors, my family, and the light that they've shone down through the ages to land just on me in this particular time on this planet. That's a gift that I would never reject, and I'm thankful forevermore. So we have gone through the last line, and at the bottom here we have Gabriel. You might be thinking, well, what does Gabriel have to do with Pluto? I'll tell you. And again, this is my intuitive guidance. And Gabriel has energies and messages throughout this whole story. But he also is the only angel that appears frequently to descend, literally descend from heaven with a message for someone important on earth. And so the fact that the bridge to spirit, Keter, is governed through the same power as Pluto and the Earth star. I feel this descent energy is very important because it's a descent from heaven. It's not just a descent from Earth to the underworld, but it's a descent from above. It's as above, so below, everything in harmony. And Gabriel appears in two of the most famous scriptures that the world has ever known: the Bible and the Quran. Bear with me, because the second one you might not know about. Jesus's mother, Mary, married to Joseph, received a message on the Feast of the Annunciation, as it became known after the event, or Lady Day, 25th of March, Lady Day. She received the message that she was going to give birth to a son, and that son was going to be the Son of God, and he was going to bring all these healing gifts, and even to the extent that potentially it was an immaculate conception, that the baby was placed in her body by divine right rather than through the act of intercourse, sexual intercourse. Poor Joseph, right? But could be an analogy. There is also a recurring theme of divine birth that goes back millennia, way before the idea of the time of Jesus Christ, where potentially beings did actually give birth to babies without having sex. And that is both a spiritual and a scientific research fact. So Gabriel was responsible for being that messenger energy that gave Mary the message that she was going to be the mother of the Son of God. Now, Gabriel also brought a message to the Prophet Muhammad when he was young and he was on his path in the Middle East, in the desert. And Gabriel's message was that Muhammad was going to be a prophet, and he came down to guide Muhammad whilst Muhammad was on a mountain. I'm not sure if it was Mount Sinai. It could have been. Mount Sinai is in Egypt, in the Sahara Desert, where Moses received the 10 Commandments. And we have 10, do we not? A list of 10 tablets was Moses's gift. It could also be true that Moses was talking to Gabriel. The Bible says that Moses and God were talking to each other on a buddy basis. Maybe that was an interpretation that was misread, and actually maybe Moses was talking to Gabriel. That's just, my interpretation. But the Archangel Gabriel came down and spoke to the Prophet Muhammad and told him he was going to be a prophet. And he also told him something interesting, which I like. He told him that he should drink milk. That milk was the juice of the moon, and it would be a powerful elixir for Muhammad. Maybe it was an indicator of not eating meat, that he should only drink the milk from the cow and not the meat from the cow. And there is or other animals, insert where necessary. It could have been an analogy. Everything in scripture is symbolism. So much should be taken on different levels. It is not always as literal as it seems, but in other cases, it's exactly as literal as it appears in the Bible, in the Word. So, Gabriel, major feature, major archangel in both the Christian faith Christianity, and also in Islam. So for me, that's one of the most interesting synchronicities across scripture and across religion and spirituality that many people do not acknowledge, or, spiritual burpees. But we're acknowledging it now, Archangel Gabriel. So thank you. He is the divine messenger, and we feel his energy all the time. And much like Mercury, Gabriel has a very big task. And I also heard, just like Santa Claus, Father Christmas. We all believed in Santa Claus, Father Christmas once upon a time, however short-lived that belief was, that fantasy fairy tale was. And if there's any children watching, please go and ask your parents, all right? But Santa has to get to every single child's house in one night, Christmas Eve. At least if you were from England, it was Christmas Eve. A few different other countries, they revere a different day of the calendar. But in our world, it was considered that the reindeer, led by Rudolph, would pull the sleigh with all the presents, and Santa would come down the chimney and make sure that every child had a gift on Christmas morning. And that's kind of the job of Archangel Gabriel and the job of Mercury, being that Mercury is the divine messenger of all writing, all communication. He is the emissary of the sun, responsible for communicating with all of the planets and all of the souls on every single planet. That's a lot. So luckily they use telepathy, okay? You know, I'm pretty sure Santa Claus had a lot of telepathic help from his elves and his reindeer as well. So again, we're kind of having to bend the laws of physics when we talk about these things, but that's okay, because the spiritual world has its own set of laws of physics. And karma, being that what goes around comes back around, is probably the first one. And do unto others as you would wish to be done unto yourself is perhaps number 2, or it may even be number 1, clothed in a different cloth. You know? Was there anything else I wanted to say, Spirit? This was called Angels and Demons. It is the 7th Jade tablet. Because whether I realized it or not, when I started this journey, I was setting out to try and communicate and articulate the joy and wonder and magic that I have discovered through my research, through my spirituality, through my own spiritual path, my own walk in the spiritual desert. And some of these ideas were wholly complex and so abstract and out of reach. I was thinking, how can I make this concrete and tangible in a way that we can understand? And it very much came through me, bang, 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 that the sins and the virtues that we experience as human beings could be related back to an energy or an imbalance of perhaps the planets, perhaps the chakras, perhaps the sephira, perhaps our experiences in life have led us, or even our parents' bad decisions, our parents' mistakes, nay, our parents' outright abuse and cruelty and programming, mental, neuro-linguistic programming, have kept us in these lower energy spheres or spaces, energy fields, to the scary point that we feel we can't get out, we can't get back onto the virtuous path. But it is the same path. It's just how you take those steps. You can take those steps as a low vibrational energy vampire, sucking on other people's energy, other people's wealth, other people's emotions, other people's damn fine light, just to see. And they still can't see. Or you could be trying your damnedest to work your way out of an addiction, a temptation, a karmic cycle. And I want you to feel hopeful and joyful and reassured that of course there is light at the end of the tunnel. And you are in the tunnel. And if you're going through hell, keep going. Because there is always another side to the bridge. You can always fall off the wagon, but you can always start running and jump back on the back of the wagon, okay? Don't ever feel that hope is lost. Hope isn't here as a virtue, because it's bigger than that. It's something that we should hold in us, within us, eternally, unwaveringly, because it's that which connects us with faith, with God, with spirit, whatever you conceive him or her to be. However you connect with Gaia, with nature, with yourself, with other people through love, that is divine. And you are a divine being walking upon this planet for a very brief time. They have much longer lifespans on the other planets. Even this planet, Earth, they had lifespans of up to 900 years, or beyond 900 years, and that's in the Bible. There are, was it Abraham that died at 900, or had his last baby when he was 900 Earth years? And in the Anunnaki, they revolve in 6,000 year cycles. So some deities in the Anunnaki fables were 36,000 years. Or the belief that the Anunnaki could only travel through the portal to Earth every 36,000 years. And 36 is half of 72. Let's just put that out there. So, I hope that my scribblings, my doodles, my ponderings, and my colorings have helped illuminate something that perhaps you didn't know, or a little bit more about something you were interested in. And maybe you will reach out to these angels, these archangels, because they are here for our help. And we do need to ask them if we need something from them. We can't just expect it all to fall into our lap. We have to do the work. But there is also that faith, belief that it is real, that these are energies and spiritual guides that are here for our highest good. And if you reach out by name, especially, you can call out to spirit, you can call out to God, you can call out to the archangels. You can call on those demons too. Watch it. Believe me, you certainly can. Every word that we say is a spell, okay? Words are spells. So be careful what you let form in your mind and develop into an idea, and lo and behold, you actually speak it. Make sure it's of a high vibration, otherwise you're just wrapping your own self up in knots. If you're struggling, if you're in the dark night of the soul, if you are lost, then have the daring, even if it feels like you've got to be brave just to believe in this stuff. Give it a go and ask for them by name. Ask them for something specific that you need help with. And I promise you, you will start to see signs. You may even hear an answer. These beautiful creatures reveal themselves through numbers, through birds, through animals, through nature, through the weather, through sensations in your body, through your chakras, through these powers. Even you will feel their energy when you are walking either a sinful path or a virtuous path. We all have the potential to be everything and everyone on this page. This 7th Jade tablet is the system of humanity, and it's a system to return to our humanity. And that is a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much for being here with me. My name is Sasha. I am your green goddess. You have been here with me live. We're in Mexico. We're in southern Mexico. We're still in Quintana Roo, but we've found a new paradise, and I will quickly show you where I'm going now, and that is into the swimming pool over there. I've got a beautiful paradise pool all for me, and it's time for me to say I love you. Be good to yourselves. Please do not miss next week, week 8. We are going to be going outer space, intergalactic, with the Bloom Moonraker. Is a space station that I have designed. We're going from angels and demons to space stations next week. So I really do mean it. It's time to buckle up, Buttercup. This ride is going to be bumpy. And yeah, the Rossi Bloom Moonraker is Jade Tablet 8. Rossi stands for Reusable Orbital Space Station System Intelligence. And I really hope you'll come along for the ride. Take care, darlings. I love you so much, and so do all your angels and your demons. Mwah.